I will link the products below. Some of the links are affiliate links, and if you click them and make a purchase, I make a commission out of it and no extra cost to you. If you don't know me by now or you just subscribe, my name is Lily. I am a bridal makeup artist in Los Angeles. I do makeup tutorials and show you a glimpse of my life and how I manage my day-to-day life as a mom and a working makeup artist. Okay, stay tuned if you want to see this eyebrow tutorial. And today I will show you two different ways to do it. A natural way to do it, like if I'm going to a grocery run versus like having a full face of makeup on. Giving you tips on shades to pick and products and how to put the eyebrows together and what's the difference. So let's jump on in. Products that you will need to do the eyebrow tutorial would be Lash Glue. Make sure that it's clear. 2 clean mascara spoolies. Your favorite brow pomade shade is the Anastasia's 7B dual-ended brush. I use a spatula so I can scoop out the product. This is the Ariel and Morphe collab in the A19. Your concealer. So today's tutorial I am showing you from a bridal makeup artist point of view. I will give you some tips if you are a beginner or someone who is trying to learn how to do eyebrows and put it together. So you could use any concealer, but my favorite one is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer because the consistency, it's light but it's also creamy and it dries down very well. Some concealers dry down but they still kind of crease. This one I don't get it as much as long as I blend it. And today I'm gonna show you on both of my eyebrows the natural everyday look versus the I'm trying to get ready for a special event eyebrow look. Now I cannot talk about other eyelash glues, but if you try other clear lash glues, let me know if it works out for you because I haven't done it, but I assume that they kind of work the same because I only use this one.
You want to get like a little bit of the glue.
My glue is, it's been used for a bit, so I got like this much out. Meaning that it's not brand new, so I recommend from my experience, because I've had brand new eyelash glue before, it doesn't dry down as fast. It takes a little bit longer versus like when you know keep opening it and closing it. But you want to analyze your hair length and the thickness and where you want them to be placed, because the way that the glue works is once it dries down and you place the hairs that way, it's pretty much stuck that way until you wash it off. So on this side, I'm gonna do the natural everyday eyebrow. And on this side, I'm gonna do the more, the eyebrow where you put eyeshadow with, if you had to get ready for a special event. So it's a little bit different. So basically I want a full fluffy set. I'm not pressing like hard. I'm just softly going on top of the hairs and then flicking it up, if you can see that. So if you want to know kind of like how far to go on your eyebrow hair, it depends on like the thickness. Like if you have tons of hair and it's super thick and it's super long, you probably don't want to go up as high and straight as mine. You want it to be more, you know, or slanted. See, not mine, it's short. So I could go high, and I also like it fuller, so it's fine to go higher. So you want to get started on the front, and you want to keep it within the same range as your hair width, because if you get it on the outside of the range, it's gonna get very sticky. And I typically like to go like this in the front, and then when it starts to stick up, then I start slowly going another section towards the back. And then for this one, I don't want to go all the way straight up because these are my longest hairs on my eyebrow, so I don't want to go too straight up. So I start kind of slanting it, and then when I go towards the back, I kind of slant it like this. And since I don't have too much hair on the back part of my tail, I do fluff it up so it could look fuller and thicker in the back. But like I said, it depends on your hair length and your hair thickness. If you have longer, thicker, and like darker eyebrows than me, this will probably look crazy on you. So you do kind of want to go softly slanted until it looks right, but it does take practice. So you want to keep practicing until you find the straightness and slantedness of each side of the eyebrow that you like and looks flattering on your eye. So this is what mine would look like. And remember, your eyebrows are not twins, they're just sisters. Sometimes one is, you know, thicker, longer, and fuller than the other. So you just gotta work with it. From the side view, I don't, hopefully you can see it, but you see how some of the hairs are still kind of sticking up. So it gives that natural look. Now, I know some girls like to press it flat against their skin, which is fine. It just depends on the look that you're going for. If that's what you like and you feel comfortable with how that looks, go for it. And like I said, I'm a makeup artist, so when I get my pomade, I'm gonna scoop a little bit out, and I usually put it on the back of the container. And work off from there. Now when you use the pomade, depending on how old it is, mine is fairly new because I just restocked it. You want to lay the brush flat like this on both sides. And you want to keep pulling it downward. So you want to keep picking up product and keep doing this until you feel a little bit of a tug. That means that it's drying a little bit. So what I notice is that when it's too wet, it doesn't really stick on my eyebrow as well. So I want to keep going like this until it dries. And you see this clump right here? You want to leave it like that so that it doesn't dry out while you're still trying to make the shape of the brow. So every single time when you grab a new product from that thickness, you just drag it back down. So once you lay it on the brush, you should get something that looks like this. This side is my natural everyday eyebrow, and this will be my full glam eyebrow. So the only difference is how you lay down the hair strokes. You are gonna have to keep practicing on the shape that you want your brows to be, but I like mine to be a little more fuller in the back, so I start from the back. And also when you pick up the product and you're not really familiar with the process, you usually pick up a little bit too much. So if you start from the back and you accidentally put too much product on the brush, it's okay for the back to have a little more density or intensity of the product rather than starting off from the front and it looks too dark and it's really hard to, you know, blend out. So I recommend starting from the tail end. And then whatever, you see how it's softly getting lighter as I brush more strokes. Then you kind of gauge, oh, okay, it's ready to go towards the front now because you want the front to be soft and feathery. So you do like that to fill it in. And you're gonna keep going, you know, back and forth until it looks the way that you want it to look. And I'm gonna fill in the gaps. And while it's still wet before you finish it, you want to brush it up with the back of the brush. And then slowly pick up more product to draw the darker hair strokes in the gaps that need it more. Now, one thing I recommend not to do is using the brush and going flat against the eyebrow and going like this and drawing a complete line on the bottom, because if you want to still keep it feathery looking, you want to spend the time and actually add at each hair stroke so that it mimics that, you know, natural look. But if you want to do the straight line because you're going for like a different aesthetic or a different look, go ahead, no problem. It just depends on what you're trying to do. But for me, I'm trying to show you guys an everyday kind of look, so we're not doing that. Okay, so the top of the eyebrow hair, you see the brush tip is like this. Hopefully I could explain it well, but the brush, it looks like this, right? This is the bristle with the pomade, and this is the stick of the brush. So you want to make sure that this tip is the one that touches the very top of the eyebrow to give a more feathery eyebrow look. But this is my demo. Going back in again, using just the tip. I'm gonna do the top part of the brow and fill in the gaps. So like I said, my tail end, I like it darker, so I will go a bit. I'll press a little harder to get a little more product distributed onto the brow. So the more light-handed you are, the lighter the hair stroke would look. And then the harder that you press onto your skin, the more intense the hair stroke would look. Now, I don't have any hair on the front of my brows right here, so I do play around with it and add in these random hair strokes. If it looks too thick or too dark, use the back of the brush to fan it out. And then as a tip, I have a pointy tweezer. Sometimes I get really bad clumps because of the lash glue, but you're gonna use the tweezer to kind of wipe off some of it. So if you get chunks, don't worry too much. That's the only way I could think about fixing it. So like I said, if your glue reaches on the outside points of the hairs where you do not want the eyebrow shape or the product to lay on, it will be very clumpy and it will look funny. So make sure you clean your eyebrow on the outside before doing the concealer, which I will show you as a just in case precaution. You will notice like gaps between the brows when you turn sideways. Make sure that you use that tip area to kind of fill in those gaps. It takes time to nail this look because you are dealing with like glue and pomade, and you know, you do have to work fast. So if you mess up, it's pretty hard to clean up. But anyway, just keep practicing and you'll get it. So for example, on this area, you see how I got chunky pretty fast? You're gonna have this tweezer and just go in and scratch off some of that product to blend it out. So that's only if the chunks of glue and chunks of pomade somehow meet together and clump up. A pointy tweezer will help, you know, fix it. So you get something like that. So again, at the tail part, I want it to be a little fuller because I said my tail ends don't have too much thickness, so I want to pretend and mimic the thickness. So I will go a little higher, and I will use just that tip angled area just to go like this because I don't want it to be too dark on the top, but I do want a fuller looking eyebrow, and that's how I'm gonna get that. Going in with my other eyebrow, I picked up more product, and you see how I'm gliding it here. If you have pomade yourself and you have used it before, you'll kind of get what I mean. When I slide it down, it's already getting like a little bit dry and tacky, so you do have to, you know, kind of work fast, but it also helps distribute the product better, and it also helps flatten the brush to be super sharp to get those really thin lines of hair if needed. You have to gauge how you kind of want to draw your eyebrow and how to shape it. Anyway, so for my eyebrows, these are my natural hairs going upward, and I like this effect because I don't have too much. It makes my eyebrows look fuller, and then when I fill it in with the pomade, I had to ask myself, do I keep the same shape and go round, right? So this is my shape. Let's just pretend. If I go around and I actually follow my shape, this will be my eyebrow, right? But because the eyebrow is like the main center of the makeup look, oh, if you have bad eyebrows, the makeup won't look good. I don't like my natural eyebrow shape, so I will make it more square-ish. So I do, you know, go feather in the product like this. See, it's already drying, so you gotta pick up more product. But you wanna go little by little. So you see how I'm dragging in just a little bit more on both ends. This is the correct way to do it. Every time when you feel like the product is drying out and you need to pick up more, that's the correct way to grab more product. Like I said, you want to go start from the back because that's when you're going to be the most heavy-handed. And you want to make sure when you turn to the side, you see the gaps right here, you want to use the tip and make sure you fill it in. So I'll just show you sideways. Go in. So remember, it's drying fast, you gotta work fast. Especially when you start working on the second eyebrow, you wanna work fast. So because I have most of the like lighter parts of my hair strokes fitted in, I'm gonna pick up a lot more product and draw even more stronger hair strokes. You see how prominent that is? And obviously, like I said, if you press harder, it will show up more dense. If you do it lightly and not press as hard, you will get a softer effect. So to some people, what I just did right now might look too dark for you. It's up to you. The shades do matter. I'm using the caramel shade, which is not too dark, but also not too light, because by the time I finish doing my full glam makeup, it just looks like, you know, the way I want it to look like. And I guess the hard part is making everything match. So we will keep going. You need to have a good hand at this because you're trying to go like this, and every part right here, you do kind of want to keep a straight line right here. So you do have to navigate doing that. And whatever's remaining on the brush, because it's drying out, you're gonna go on top like this and go upward and slant it like this. So over the past couple of years that I've been using this technique, I took a while to get used to how it looked. So in the beginning, I didn't like it because I just couldn't get it right. I couldn't nail down the technique. It took me a couple years to get used to, you know, putting down the product and understanding how my product works. So I could tell you, even as an experienced bridal makeup artist, even I have a hard time sometimes, but you know, I know how to work through it, and I learned from my mistakes. I'm gonna fluff it like that, and you see how it looks kind of nasty, but I'll show you how to clean it in a bit. Depending on your, you know, face shape, I do like to stretch mine further out here to my nose. Some people might not like it. They like it more in. If you feel comfortable with it looking that way, go ahead and stop at that stopping point. I also like my tail to be a little bit longer than what it really is, so I do draw it all the way out here. But like I said, it depends on your face shape. Sometimes this will look a little weird on certain people, but you just have to play it around, and then I promise you, you practice enough, you will get the shape that you want and desire over time. Until you get used to the eyelash glue, you want to get like a makeup remover wipe. I'm using a piece from the Neutrogena makeup remover wipe. And then you want to clean out the ends. Sometimes if you want to get a sharper look, you could use the spatula and like put it right here so that it gives that sharp, you know, look. And then go over, clean out the area that you don't want the pomade to be. And you want to wipe a little bit hard because, like I said, if you accidentally put glue on the outer parts of the eyebrow, you want to make sure that you clean it off completely before putting on the concealer. Otherwise, it's going to get very messy and clumpy looking, and you don't want that. So this does take, you know, some time and skill, so make sure you pick a day to practice. Because it could look bad if you don't practice what it looks like before putting in the concealer. And there was a moment where I did this brow and I haven't put the concealer yet, and I was thinking to myself, dang, my eyebrows look good. But in the moment I put on the concealer, that's when I started seeing all the glue outside of here, and it was so hard for me to do eyeshadows or any other makeup because it was just clumping all over there. So you want to make sure you don't want to get that. So when I first started, I did use makeup remover wipes to wipe off the excess glue. So yeah, you want to make sure that you have a clean slate before putting on your eyeshadow. So hopefully if you did it right, everything should be clean and good. And you want to move, you know, around because you want to go back to a clean section and go back and double check that it's all the excess glue has been wiped off. And sometimes the glue is excess in the front right here. It just depends on how you lay down the glue, so make sure you get that too. So like I said, sometimes you will get clumps and things will look kind of chunky. Just use like the tweezer and squeeze out some of the eyelash glue. Most likely it looks like that because you touch the glue on the actual skin between the hairs. So that's why I said to be careful and make sure that you just touch the tip of the hairs and keep it within that range so that the glue doesn't do that, because, you know, even as an experienced makeup artist, it still happens to me too. Another thing would be, maybe it'll be easier for you just to use like the very tip of the spoolie and go like this with the glue rather than going like this. And then you just got to keep going back and forth, filling in wherever gaps needed. So usually when you take off some, you also remove some of the hair strokes, and you kind of have to go back in it and fill in the blanks until it suits the way that you want it to look. So you see how I have a little gap right here? I want to fill that in, so I'm gonna use the angled part and go like this, so softly and so lightly. That looks much better. So you want to make sure that it looks good before you carve the eyebrows with concealer. This is my everyday eyebrow, so I'm gonna go in with the darker concealer, which is about my my skin tone, and I'm going in with the shade NC30. If you don't have a concealer that's, you know, light and you want to use your foundation, that's okay too. So I think this concealer is only about a shade lighter than my skin tone. So if you want to keep it natural, you want to softly carve it out like that and softly pull down the concealer. But like I said, using your regular foundation shade. So if you use a liquid foundation or a cream foundation, and it matches your skin tone and it's what you usually put on your face, I would recommend using that to make it look natural and everyday looking. So I'll show you the difference after I blend this out. Going with the opposite end. After I blend this out, how natural this looks. So if you're going for like an everyday eyebrow and you want to do this look, you blend it out. So it should look like this. So like if I want to go to the grocery stores and I just want, you know, a laminated brow look, I will go with this. Now, if I want to go for a glam special occasion look, I'm gonna go in with my lighter concealer, and the reason why is because when it's 2 shades or 3 shades lighter on your eyelid, it makes the eyeshadow shades that you use pop out more. So that's why I go in with a lighter shade. So you see how much lighter that is compared to the other side. So I'm gonna carve it out. So make sure that your eyebrow shape is where you want it to be. And again, when you pick up concealer, you typically pick up too much. Make sure you start from the ends first so that it gets the most product distributed. And if you feel like it's still too much, make sure you drag it down so that you could share it out before you go to the front, because you don't want your fronts to be too, like, you don't want it to have a sharp line. And if you really do feel like it's too much, see, I use a palette, but if you feel like it's too much, you could put some on the back of your hand to wipe off some and then go to the front to blend out. Okay, you see how this is much lighter than the natural eyebrow side? There is a reason to it. It's for my eyeshadow shades to pop out more. So that's what you're gonna get. Now you tell me if you went to the grocery store with this eyebrow with a lighter concealer versus like the my shade, you know, concealer, or my foundation shade concealer, which one do you want to go to the grocery store looking like, right? It looks a little bit crazy when it's too light. So you want to make sure you use the correct shades that match you. And there's nothing wrong with either side. It's just more of what makeup aesthetic you're trying to go for. But yeah, this is what you would get. And sometimes I go in with like my foundation shade and go on the top right here to make it even more sharper. I can do like this too, just to clean it up even more. I could shape however I want to shape the eyebrow. So there's no real, you know, your eyebrows have to look like mine or be done like mine. It's more of a, you have to try this out and see where your hair is placed and then kind of follow the map of your hair. So don't fight against it, but you know, whatever looks good. So sometimes I draw this one too thick and then this one not thick enough, so that's when I go back in with my pomade. And remember this part, this is the still kind of wet area, so that's when you slowly drag it down if you want to add more, and just fix whatever needs to be fixed. So I think it's here. I might have to go back and forth with the concealer and the pomade. So okay, some pointers. Even though this is my natural side and this is my full, like special occasion brow side, just as a pointer, this probably does look too dark just to go walk into the grocery store with. So if I had to fix it or change it back, I'll probably use blonde instead of caramel, just to soften it a little bit. So, you know, color choices, like I said, matter, and you'll just have to figure it out. But this is what caramel looks on me. And when I did start this look, I did start it with the chocolate pomade, and I felt like it was dark, like pretty dark looking. So I had to kind of find like a shade that kind of met, you know, the depth and the darkness that I wanted, but without looking like too much in person and on camera. And caramel seems to be the shade for me. But I've also, you know, gotten lighter because I haven't been outside and I don't go out in the sun as much. So you already know my concealer shade is between NC20 and NC30, depending on the look that I'm going for. So remember, the shades do matter. If you feel like you're not good at doing pomade and you don't want to do the extra stuff, you could also get eyebrow pencil, which is fine too. But the only thing that I want to warn you about is with the eyebrow pencil, it's kind of hard to go through with the glue. So I did try with the brow pencil before, and it didn't really give me the look that I wanted to look, and it also rubbed off some of the glue and caused more clumping to happen. So basically, like, the glue is between the hairs like this, right? So every time when I use the pencil and go up like this, I'm pushing the glue to make all the hairs stick together and bundle up. I also started getting like clumps of glue on the ends, and it just got a little hard to work. So I kind of don't really recommend you using the brow pencil. But is it a bad idea to use the brow pencil if you wanted to start? No. Most people probably would have the brow pencil first more than a brow pomade, because you have to be more like precise and you have to use like another tool. But you know, you pick and choose your poison and what your artistry level is. But if you're unsure, just start off with the pencil and go from there. But if you use a pencil, I also do notice that in camera lighting, it does look softer in person and softer on camera. I could actually do either or, but like I said, that's because I've practiced both and I know how to work it around. And you do need a tweezer like this with a pointy side to help you, you know, move your hair around and take out some of the clumps. So I found that to be easier to use just in case. It's inevitable not to have clumps, you know, you're gonna get it anyway. Even I get it, and that's what happened throughout this process. So I showed you how to remove it. So your eyebrows will look like this. Okay, this is the makeup look with all the makeup on, and you see how it's cohesive with the brows. So my brows don't look as dark right now, but it did look pretty dark when I first started it and I didn't have any of the makeup on. So yeah, after I do powders and stuff, it also fades a little bit because some of the powders, you know, kind of blend it out. But for the most part, this is what I want it to look like when I do a full face of makeup. If I wanted to do like a more full-on heavier glam makeup, I'm sticking with the caramel, or if I want to go even darker, I'll use chocolate. And I also like using dark brown if I wanted to go like super sharp and like defined bold eyebrows. I've used dark brown before also, but like I said, it's up to you and the look that you're going for. You could pick and choose whatever, and if you're unsure of the shade, obviously go to Sephora, do the swatches, and ask yourself which one will look better. And let me know if you were able to follow this tutorial for yourself. So I do want to say that in photo and videos, the eyebrows look softer. In real life, it is pretty dramatic, but I think it films and photographs beautifully. But if you don't think so and you think it's too much, tell me. This is what I typically do for my bridal work, and I do softer eyebrow looks, but that's just more of like placement and shade and, you know, whatever their face looks like. So that's a part of my job, but this is what I like to do on myself. So if I were to pick a makeup look that I like to go out with, this is what I would do. And if I were to make it look softer and fluffier, I probably wouldn't go too close with the hair strokes. I'll probably have the hair strokes even further out if I wanted to make it look natural, so you still see some skin in between. But like I said, it just depends. Thank you for staying and watching my video, and I hope you learned something out of it. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for more tutorials.